Hey, what's up guys? So today I am going to show you all a little behind the scenes look at a setup for a toy photography challenge. Now when I say challenge, it's not really a competition per se, it's more like a group collaborative activity. In toy photography, one of the nice things in being part of a community is that we get together sometimes once per month, sometimes once per week, depending on the group, and there are different themes that pretty much everybody does their own interpretation of the theme, and you shoot a picture with toys. Sometimes there are different like toy specifications, so some might say like anime toys only, some might say different, so different specifications. This one is a pretty open theme, and in this one the theme is actually books in focus. So the focal point should be a book, so join me while I do the setup. By the way, this is a glimpse at my toy photography room. I am giving my plants some sun today, so natural sunlight, so I'm giving them some sun today. And this is actually the table that I am going to do my setup on. Now I already have the components put out already, and this table, fun fact about this table is that it actually could retract, like you could actually put it to flip down, so giving myself some more space because it's not really the biggest of rooms. So yeah, let me do the setup now. Books in focus. So I already have a book, and as you can see here, I use a piece of wire here to elevate it, and this is piece of a diorama that one of my friends made me, and I'm going to add in some more pieces of diorama to this to set it up. Alright, so even for a background here, so like I say, I have talented friends. One day I want to explore in actually doing my own diorama, but for now I don't feel I have that talent, right? Books in focus. Now this is a piece that I had bought ages ago and one of my favorite purchases. So it's actually a bookshelf. I already started pre-stacking it because, as you can see here, a lot of miniature books, right? So I'm just gonna randomly put some books in there. The fun thing about these kind of challenges and these types of pictures is that, like, I think the charm is in the little details, if you know what I mean. So I am just gonna stack up a lot of books in here because, books in focus. All right. And just randomly because, yes, I could do it nice and neat, but one, I am way too lazy to do that. Oh, let's back the skull. Ta-da! All right. Like I say, the charm is in the details, right? All the little microscopic details. Now, I tend to like to do a lot of crossovers. So one of my characters here today, Charmander, right? Causing a little bit of trouble. I got this book from one of my friends, Army Men at Home. This was just awesome and I was supposed to use it, so I will be sure to tag him in that. Thank you so much. And a little Eevee. Alright, balance the little one. Oh boy. I know he was bouncing before. Oh ho. Yeah. Yeah, this was a trick. Right. Alright, now the key characters here is Mewtwo. Now, as I say, we pretty Pokemon obsessed, alright? Let's get out closer so you can get a better view of the setup. So Mewtwo with Pikachu. My intent is to actually put in some special effects in this picture. And yes, I do love natural special effects, and this is where the crossover part comes. Muppets and Pokemon. That is the crossover you did not know you needed. And I already preloaded animal. You doing as usual, chaos and destruction. Right? I'm gonna pull. I find this Psyduck is the coolest little detail, and then I am just gonna take some other books randomly and throw them on the ground just to give some foreground, background kind of details. Right, that's a little bit too much. Put that there. There we go. So that is our setup. A lot of little details. The plan is, because all of these characters are not in the same plane to shoot them, I'm going to do something called focus stacking, where basically I shoot each character individually and then merge it all together in Photoshop. And for a glimpse of my lighting, I have a Godox Finest light stand, pretty cool, nice blue light. I can actually change what color light, and then I have a pretty cheap light here attached to my Godox, right? And then, well, obviously we have the natural light coming in from the window, and I am going to be shooting here. Now, I am using the Canon, so there's a little bit of a rig up thing, right? So this is the Canon 100mm with a Sigma converter to shoot on a Sony E7 IV. Now, I already kind of did some pre-shots. One of the things I like about the Sony E7 IV is that, like I say, I have the ability to actually do this. Flip out and turn. Which is awesome, because before I would have had to like bend down, get down to eye level, be real uncomfortable. Now I could actually just kind of turn my LCD screen. So like I say, with focus stacking, what I would tend to do is that I would focus on different parts. Now, haha, my autofocus and my lens kind of gone bad, so I had to manually focus it, right? So I will focus different parts, snap a shot there. I will focus on animal after that, snap a shot, focus on Eevee, snap that shot, then Beaker, and then Charmander, and Psyduck, right? So I'll have multiple shots that I would have focus on, and now we're gonna put this together in Photoshop. Alright, so by no means is this the only way to do this, but this is how I do my focus stacking. So essentially what I do is I load up all my pictures into Lightroom, and I highlight the ones that, you know, have the different characters in focus. So for instance, this one is Pikachu and Mewtwo. After that we have Eevee, then we have Animal, and then we have, right, Psyduck, and then last but not least Charmander, and oh my god, what's his name? Beaker. Right, so we have these 8 photos that have the characters that I want in focus. I'm gonna right click and I'm going to export. I'm going to edit in, open as layers in Photoshop, and I'm gonna open up Photoshop there. I'm gonna bring it over into Photoshop because I use Photoshop for, you know, all my layer masking, and also to edit out things like this wire in here. I might actually add, you know, a little bit of special effects, like some like, you know, a little what is called this thing, like a little explosion, maybe some lightning coming off of Pikachu if it's not too much, maybe some fire coming out of Charmander if it's not too much, and maybe a little confusion stuff here. Still deciding. I don't want the photo to be too busy. There's a lot going on in the picture, but you know, it's all fun. Alright, so it imported it. I'm just gonna reorganize it, right? Just for, okay, so what I should do, I don't always do this, right? Is that I try to rename all my layers, right? So that I don't confuse myself when it's time to edit, right? So this is Mew Pika, right? Good. And I'm gonna delete that. Well, unhighlight the area. This one is the Eevee. There we go. Right. I'm gonna unhighlight that. Animal now in focus. Right. I think I have a couple layers with animal in focus. So I am going to get the right one. Not this one. Right. now that the first layer here is Charmander and Beaker, we are going to layer mask, take it off there. So I'm going to add layer mask to the other areas and layer this out. So, right, you see here Psyduck isn't focused in this layer. I'm going to add a layer mask here and I'm going to paint back in Beaker. So as you can see here, carefully doing it, Beaker. There we go. So Beaker is back in focus. Now, the animal layer, I am going to have to paint back in Beaker. Right? You can see here, let's just do that. Right? Beaker and Psyduck, because Psyduck was in focus before and we want to keep him in focus now. Up to the Eevee layer. So with the Eevee layer, I am going to have to go back now, paint back in animal, because remember animal was in focus in the other area. Being careful not to catch Eevee's ear. So I'm gonna just kind of roughly do it here, right? Beaker, Psyduck, and Charmander. I forgot to paint in Charmander in one of the layers, as you can see. Right, Charmander now in focus. The key is every layer you go back, you have to paint in all the other characters who were in focus and make sure that they stay in focus. So with Eevee, as you can see here, I kind of clipped the ear, right? So the ear became out of focus, but I kind of want everything nice and crispy. So I am zooming in and I am going to go back in with a smaller brush and clean that up so that Eevee is nicely in focus. Now, last but not least are the main characters of this, Pikachu and Mew. Now, first of all, before I forget to do it, this was actually some gunky stuff from before. That is, what you call it? Where's my healing brush? Photoshop change, and now I cannot find any damn thing. Healing brush, where art thou? I do not want a 3D eyedropper. Pattern stamp, clone stamp, eraser. Right, clean up Mew, because I mean he's the main character. He needs to be, oops, not look bad, right? So now Mew is back, looking good. Pikachu had a little bit of dents on him, so I mean I had these figures for a while, right? So they tend to get little spots on them and little dents and things, but you know what? Nothing that a little Photoshop magic cannot fix. Right, there we go. Last I will do is this, to clean up these wires here, because that is going to take me a little longer than I would like, but I'm sure that there is an easier way. So now I'm going back to my layer masking and I am going to paint back in all my other characters because I want everybody in this in focus. I'm going to get Psyduck back in the shot. So that would require us to go back in with black. Get Mr. Psyduck back in the shot. There we go. Right. Awesome. Alright, so now just a final glance. Everybody is in focus. Nobody has weird blued out edges. Did I paint Charmander back in? I don't feel like I paint Charmander back in. No, I didn't. See the difference? He's nice and sharp now. Right, there we go. Zoom out, make sure everything looks nice and continuous. Right, that's the shot there. Right, I am going to merge all of this together now. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with this. What I am going to try to do now is to get rid of all those little stupid lines. Right, so I cleaned that up pretty well. I should say so myself. Right, so one of the things I did is that I got a PNG image. This is actually Naruto Rasengan. Now, as you can see here, it's looking a little bit too sharp and whatnot, right? So what I am going to do is that I did a radial blue, nice 26. A lot better, so more woolly. Now I need to get some electric stuff for Pikachu, which is turning out to be very hard, and Charizard or Flame coming out there. Alright, so finally I load it, I save it, it goes back into Lightroom, and this is where I do, my various tune-ins and all that, right? So this is where I do my main heavy editing with like color and all that, right? So first of all, this picture, a little crooked, right, as you can see. So I'm going to straighten it up because I don't like crooked edges. And I have a lot of, how you put it, presets that I have saved. And I am just going to play around and see which one suits this image the best. I think this one looks pretty awesome. I'm gonna dehaze it. I am going to brighten it, yep. Maybe a little too yellow, I don't know. Yeah, add some yellow, there we go. I find like the pink's a little too pinky. So I'm gonna bring down some of the reds a little bit in the image. Yeah. It's a little too saturated for my liking. And I am going to give it an overall kind of matte appearance. Brighten it back up a little bit. Alright, so overall it's just a scene of chaos and disaster and poor Beaker not having a good time at all. And this was the final result. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I hope this was helpful. Laters.